Imagine your phone, your laptop, maybe even your smart TV, just quietly, relentlessly sending out your most personal stuff, your conversations, passwords, to someone you don't know. Why? Who knows? We're talking about spyware, that invisible digital intruder lurking in the shadows of our devices. Today, we're doing a deep dive into this really pervasive and honestly deeply unsettling threat, our mission. To pull back the curtain on what spyware actually is, how it sneaks onto your devices, what it does when it gets there, and maybe most importantly, how you can actually protect yourself. Think of this as your shortcut to, really getting a handle on this unseen digital landscape.
Yeah, and it's vital to understand this isn't just some hypothetical thing. Spyware is genuinely one of the most common and sophisticated dangers online today.
Hmm.
And it's moved way beyond just targeting like old desktop computers. It's
Yep.
evolved, now can operate even on devices we think of as secure, Apple iPhones, MacBooks. That really broadens the playing field for the attackers and, well, for us, the risk.
Okay, right. Let's unpack this then. So, at its core, spyware is a type of malicious software, malware, right? And it covertly infects your computer or your phone. Its main purpose seems pretty straightforward, but the implications are huge. Just collect sensitive information from you, often to sell it. So it's basically a digital data thief operating completely out of sight.
Exactly. And what's truly fascinating, maybe uh, chilling is a better word, is how it operates without you even knowing, just constantly collecting information in the background. It really boils down to, I'd say, three main
Yeah.
things: data harvesting, relentless monitoring, and just absolute stealth. So data harvesting that's grabbing everything from your internet usage, credit card numbers, bank details, even user credentials,
Mhm.
which they can then use to, spoof your identity. Attackers use this stuff to track you, steal from you, sell your data.
Wow.
Then there's monitoring. Spyware can literally watch all your internet activity, track logins, spy on sensitive documents. It can even turn on your device's camera and microphone or just grab screenshots
Without you knowing.
without you knowing. And stealth is key. It typically runs quietly, keeps a secret presence, making it incredibly difficult for you to spot. The really insidious part here is that spyware isn't just about stealing data. It's like a complete erosion of your digital sovereignty. It makes your own device work against you.
So just to be clear, it's not just about grabbing a credit card number. It's about building this whole digital picture of you, every click, every chat, every purchase. And it's important to realize, right, that any software downloaded without your explicit informed okay can be classed as spyware,
That's right.
which makes it pretty controversial because even if it's put there for what seems like a harmless reason, the potential for privacy violation and abuse is massive. Ultimately, though, the main goal is often getting those financial details and passwords. Okay, so how does this digital ghost even get onto your device? If it's so stealthy, it must have some clever ways in.
Oh, definitely. There are several common routes. Often users unknowingly download it themselves, maybe hidden inside software that looks legit or websites exploiting vulnerabilities.
Right, like a free game or something.
Exactly. Or you could just visit a malicious website, install a malicious app, maybe one that seems totally innocent, or even just opening a file attachment in an email you thought was okay.
Yeah.
And, the classic phishing attacks or other malicious downloads are still very effective ways in.
So once it's installed, what happens then?
Well, once it's in, it immediately starts its quiet work, collecting data. This can range from, your entire web activity and history right down to every single keystroke you make. Imagine that every word typed,
Everything.
everything. The person who created the spyware then gathers all that data. They might use it themselves, maybe to get into your accounts, or more often, they sell it to others on the dark web.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting for me because it feels like a cat and mouse game. How do you even know if you are infected when it's designed to be invisible?
That's the tricky part. Because it's so stealthy, the signs can be subtle, almost like your device is just feeling a bit under the weather. But you should watch out for things, like your device suddenly running out of space or memory, or maybe your browser's landing page changes, or your phone's home screen without you doing it.
Hmm.
Have you ever noticed new toolbars or search engines or programs popping up that you didn't download?
Yeah, that's definitely happened.
That's a major red flag. Another big one is a constant flood of pop-up ads and messages, sometimes even when you're offline.
Even offline, okay.
Yeah. And for both computers and mobiles, you might notice a significant, kind of unexplained slowdown in processing speed or your network connection. For phones specifically, look for increased data usage, check your bill. and the battery draining much faster than usual.
Right. That makes sense if it's constantly sending data out.
Exactly. It's working hard in the background.
But spyware isn't just one thing, is it? You're saying it's like a whole ecosystem of digital predators, each with its own angle?
Precisely. It's not monolithic at all. We can break them down into different types.
Okay, let's get into that. The many faces of spyware.
Right. So think of adware first. This tracks your web surfing, your activity, mostly for advertising.
Yeah.
Now, some adware is just annoying, but it crosses the line into spyware when it collects your data without proper consent to target those ads. It often comes bundles with, free software or shareware, and it can really slow down your device with all those pop-ups.
Okay, so annoying, potentially spyware. What's next?
Then you have keyloggers, sometimes called keystroke loggers. These are, frankly, really dangerous. They record literally every single key you press.
Every key.
Every key. Think about that. Usernames, passwords, credit card details, private messages, everything. They can sneak in through phishing, social engineering, or those malicious downloads we mentioned.
That's terrifying.
It is. Then there are trojans. They're masters of disguise. They trick you by looking like legitimate software. But once you activate them, they give cyber criminals remote access. They can steal data, take control of your system, even install more malware. One key difference, though, unlike viruses, trojans don't replicate themselves. They just open the door.
Okay, so they're like a hidden entryway.
Exactly. And then rootkits. These are particularly nasty because they're designed to completely hide their presence. They often disguise themselves as normal system files, making them incredibly hard to detect, even for some antivirus software.
Wow. So even the tools meant to find them might miss them.
Sometimes, yes. They allow criminals to steal your personally identifiable information, PII, and get control of really core privileged parts of your system. It's like they're digitally squatting deep inside your computer's operating system.
It really sounds like each type is tailored, to exploit a different weakness or grab a specific kind of information.
That's a good way to put it.
Let's look at a few more specialized ones then. There are info stealers.
Right. Pretty much what the name says. They're designed to collect a huge range of data. Passwords, usernames, email addresses, system log files, browser history, documents, pictures, videos, you name it. They often get in by exploiting security holes in your web browser.
Okay. And banking trojans? I assume they're after.
Money, yes. They are laser-focused on online banking systems. They don't just access and record your financial info. Some can actually modify transaction details or even change what you see on the bank's webpage. Plus, they often include backdoors to send all that stolen data quietly back to remote servers.
That really makes you question things. If an app or website looks legitimate, how can you ever really be sure?
It does make you wonder, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And speaking of trust, or maybe the lack of it, we have stalkerware.
Stalkerware. That sounds personal.
It is. This type is particularly unsettling. It's installed, often by someone the victim knows, specifically to monitor their activities. It records keystrokes, can access the device's camera, the microphone, take screenshots, often disguised as some other innocent-looking app.
So who uses this?
It's frequently used by, say, jealous spouses, ex-partners,
Yeah.
sometimes even concerned parents trying to track location or intercept messages.
Yeah.
The threat here isn't just some faceless hacker miles away. It could be someone close to you.
That adds a whole different layer of concern. Okay,
Yeah.
what else?
Then there are broader system monitors. These capture pretty much everything a user does. Keystrokes, all browser activity, communications, emails, web chats, social media posts. These are sometimes used legitimately, perhaps by employers on company devices or by law enforcement with warrants, but also illegitimately. And finally, let's not forget tracking cookies, those little data files.
Ah, yes, the cookie pop-ups everyone clicks accept on.
Right. Many are legitimate. They help websites remember your preferences or keep you logged in, but others track your activity across different websites and send that information to third parties without clear consent, often for building advertising profiles. They sort of blur the line.
Okay, that's a pretty wide range of threats. Given everything we've just heard about how widespread and, frankly, sophisticated this all is, what happens when governments get involved? We hear about government spyware. What does that actually mean?
Yeah, government spyware takes this to a whole different level.
Mm.
These are highly sophisticated surveillance tools used by state agencies. Officially, they're for monitoring individuals or groups, often justified under, national security or counterterrorism reasons.
But the reality can be different.
Well, the chilling truth about government-grade spyware, tools like Pegasus, for example, isn't just their immense power, it's the blurring lines they create. These tools are significantly more invasive than commercial spyware. They can grant authorities Basically, unrestricted access to personal data, communications, even real-time device functions like cameras and mics. And they often do this leaving little to no trace. It's incredibly hard to detect.
So way beyond just track and click.
Way beyond. If we connect this to the bigger picture, it really highlights this complex, difficult intersection of national security, personal privacy, and basic civil liberties. Tools designed to fight serious crime are increasingly implicated in, well, unchecked surveillance of journalists, activists, political opponents, anyone deemed a problem, not just terrorists or criminals.
And there are some pretty notorious examples of this, right?
Absolutely. The most famous is probably Pegasus, developed by the Israeli company NSO Group. It was marketed for fighting terrorism and serious crime. But it's been found deployed against journalists, human rights activists, political figures in countries like India, Saudi Arabia, Mexico, and many others.
What makes Pegasus so potent?
Its ability to infiltrate both iOS and Android devices, often using zero-click exploits, meaning the target doesn't even need to click a link or download anything. Once in, it gives the attacker complete access messages, emails, contacts, location data. It can even secretly activate the camera and microphone. It basically turns your own phone into a 24/7 surveillance device against you.
That's terrifying. Are there others?
Yes. Another well-known one is FinSpy from a UK-based company, Gamma Group. Also designed for law enforcement, it can monitor keystrokes, grab screenshots, record audio, intercept calls and messages across multiple platforms. And like Pegasus, it's been linked to authoritarian regimes using it against dissidents and journalists, for instance, in Bahrain and Malaysia.
So a similar pattern.
A similar pattern. Then there were the hacking team tools from an Italian company, marketed as lawful intercept solutions. These could infiltrate devices through phishing or by exploiting vulnerabilities to gain remote access and monitor everything. Again, used by repressive regimes against journalists and activists. There's also stuff like Red Shell, often found embedded in free PC games, used to track online activity, maybe for marketing, maybe for surveillance, primarily analytics, but it raises privacy concerns. And Olympic Vision, a variant often spread via targeted emails, particularly hitting corporations. It seems linked to state-sponsored cyber espionage, recording keystrokes, stealing clipboard contents, grabbing credentials, used in industrial espionage, finance, tech, defense sectors.
It seems that the technology is powerful, and the potential for abuse is huge. What about legal frameworks? Are there rules for this stuff?
There are, sort of, but it's patchy. Some countries have laws, like India's old Telegraph Act or the IT Act of 2000, or in the U.S. the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act, CFAA, and the EU has GDPR. But the problem is, enforcement is often inconsistent, oversight can be weak, and frankly, the technology often moves much faster than the law. The technical capabilities have really outpaced the legal and ethical structures meant to control them.
Okay. So with all this unsettling information, how do you actually protect yourself? What are the practical steps we, the listeners, can take?
Right. Prevention is key. First, definitely use reputable antivirus and anti-malware software. Make sure it specifically includes spyware protection. A cloud-native security solution might be better as it can often detect newer, rapidly evolving threats faster.
Okay, good software. What else?
Never, and I really mean never, open unsolicited or suspicious email attachments, especially from senders you don't know or weren't expecting something from.
The classic advice, still true.
Still absolutely true. Be incredibly wary of free software. If it seems too good to be true, it probably is. And always try to read the terms and conditions or at least skim for permissions related to data collection. That's often where they hide consent.
The dreaded T&Cs.
I know, but it's important. And basic device hygiene. Put a screen lock, a strong PI or biometric lock on your smartphone. Use strong, unique passwords for all your important accounts and devices. Don't reuse passwords.
Good reminders. Basic steps, but they can make a big difference.
They really can.
So what if you suspect you're already infected? What do you do then?
Okay, if you think you might be infected, first step, disconnect the device from the internet immediately. Wi-Fi, mobile data, everything off. That stops it potentially sending more data out.
Okay, cut the connection. Then what?
Then use a different trusted device to download a reputable anti-malware or virus removal tool onto a USB drive, or run one you already have installed. Run a full system scan. Make sure the tool is up to date and capable of detecting sophisticated threats, including rootkits if possible.
And if it finds something?
Follow the tool's instructions to remove it. If you think sensitive financial information might have been exposed, it's a really good idea to contact your bank and credit card companies.
Yeah.
Let them know about possible fraud.
Right. Be proactive.
Definitely. Now, if the problems continue, even after running scans, and sometimes they do because some spyware is incredibly persistent, you might have to consider the next step. Back up your essential data, photos, documents to an external drive or cloud service you trust. Then, perform a factory reset of the device.
The nuclear option.
It often is. But sometimes it's the only way to be sure you've completely wiped it clean. And remember, dedicated anti-spyware tools aren't just for cleanup. Many offer real-time protection, actively scanning network traffic and blocking malicious stuff before it gets in, or running deep scans to find anything hiding.
This deep dive has really laid bare just how broad this threat is. Spyware, in all its forms, its silent presence, often undetected in our digital lives, from just tracking browsing habits to, intercepting your most private conversations. The threat is clearly real, it's pervasive, and it's evolving constantly.
And that's precisely the challenge, isn't it? The sophistication just keeps growing. It's an ever-moving target. It really forces us all to confront this constant tension between our need for security and our fundamental right to individual liberty and privacy in this digital world.
Indeed. So here's something to think about. How does this increasing sophistication of spyware, especially the undetectable government-grade tools, how does that fundamentally challenge the very idea of digital privacy? And what responsibility do tech companies and governments actually have in protecting us versus, pursuing national security interests?
It's definitely a lot to consider. We really encourage you to reflect on your own digital habits, your own security measures, because in this landscape, awareness truly is your first and maybe best line of defense.